Hi guys, I'm David with Transparency Fitness Live. Today we've got Sierra Hagedorn, famed real estate
Mogul.
mogul. I like that, mogul. I was like, I blanked for a second. I was kind of like, real estate what? I mean, she's just a really famed real estate badass is what let's go with badass, because badass fits you so much better than mogul.
Oh, well, thank you.
She's actually my real estate agent. But anyways, tell me a little bit about yourself. I mean, you are tenacious when it comes to taking care of your clients, doing real estate, and making things happen.
I try to be, to the best of my ability. I've been told to simmer down. My last broker said he was the best. He got a phone call from a client. Well, it wasn't my client. It was a for sale by owner. I represented the buyer, and they were just, it was not a good transaction, and they were pretty shady. And I said, can I be frank on the phone with her? And then I was, and she did not like that. So my broker said, maybe we just don't pull out Frank anymore. I was like, all right, yeah. I got started in real estate after I bought my first home with my husband, and I loved the process of it. We had a really smooth transaction. It was exciting. I looked through homes. I was like, this is really neat. And then I kind of was at a point in my life where I was really good at sales. I loved people. I really liked making a difference, but I wasn't in that type of job. And
You were in between jobs at the time too, right?
I always had a job, but I worked at that point for my brother's roofing company after my mom had passed. And it was fine, but it wasn't like mine. It was my brother's roofing company.
And everybody in your business, or everybody in your family, has pretty much owned a business. So it's kind of like common practice in your family, one, to always be working, right? Because you've told me many times, like, you can't have idle hands. Like, you've got to be doing something. And two, like you said, you wanted something that was yours, something that's kind of like your business, something you could stand behind and be proud for.
Yeah, I mean, I was raised, my father would tell me, you walk into a room like you own it, you shake people's hands, you look them in the eye. I was raised from entrepreneurs, so I watched as they grew and as they became really successful people, and I admired that. But I wanted my own because I wasn't really one to take orders very well, and none of them were either. So I learned a lot from them, but I wanted something of my own. And when I saw the process of real estate, and then I started speaking to other agents, I was like, wow, this might actually be perfect for me. So that's when I started.
What do you think made it seem so perfect for you? Like, what about doing real estate really got you excited specifically?
Specifically, I don't think I could do sales if I didn't believe it was like beneficial to someone. So I couldn't do cars because I'm not really a car person, and they don't really appreciate, and it's more of a luxury thing. Like, you want the nicest car, but I didn't have the nicest cars.
But there's something about home ownership. It's, to a certain extent, it's sales, but it's a different type of sales, right?
That's how it feels for me. Like, I knew I was good with people, but selling homes is like one of the most financially beneficial things you can do in your life. Like, that's a goal. You always want to be able to own property. And so for me, it's something that I really believe in, is helping my clients, which that's what makes it special for me. I get to see people go from renting to buying their first home, and then buying their next home,
and building equity.
And making $50,000 after 3 years, and just being
especially in today's market. Oh my
more
gosh.
than that in today's market.
It's ridiculous.
Absolutely. So I believe in it.
So what was the process in becoming a real estate agent, especially for anybody out there that might be interested in becoming one themselves?
Well, because I had a full-time job and I always worked, I had to do online.
And this is before kids, right?
This is before kids. And so I did online school. I did it in about 2 months, but it's like, as you can do it at your own pace.
Okay.
I did it where there was 30 hours of a teacher, like online, live, which I thought was better. Was
it difficult? I know, because I have friends, we both have friends that have struggled, haven't passed that test. Like, for them it's been extremely difficult. But from talking to you, it didn't seem like it was too much of a struggle for you.
Surprisingly, because I'm not really book smart. I'm street smart. I'm like not a great test taker, but I did it in such a quick amount of time. I was so determined to do it.
Is that what it was? Like you just like, I'm not going to fail. I'm
doing this.
This is happening. And you put like all your efforts into it too. I mean, it wasn't like you allowed distractions. Like this was going to happen, and it was going to happen the first time around.
And the schooling is difficult, and it's also stuff you may not ever use again. So I would say my advice is the reason I did so well with my testing was because I did it quickly, and I did it like I said, in 2 months. So everything was fresh when I took my test. I've seen people start and like hate this school and do it at their own pace, and then a year later take their test. They don't remember what they did at the beginning.
You think that if someone could just take a smaller amount of time and really focus on it and cram it in, they probably have a better chance at maybe passing.
Yes, because really what you learn is when you're on the job, like most jobs.
Right.
The real knowledge and experience comes with time.
Okay.
And not the books. There is also in Louisville and in Lexington a 2-week program. It's like 40 hours a week, 80 hours. Actually, that's wrong. Might be a little more than 45 hours a week, but it's 2 weeks and then you can graduate. That's also highly recommended. It's in the classroom.
See, that's for me, that's where I would probably flourish the best. It's like hands-on. Let me go annoy the hell out of my teacher at the end of every class, sit in the front and just, I would do exactly what you said, except I need to be in person. I'm more hands-on than that.
And that's the option. The reason I did the schooling was because I couldn't take 2 weeks off. Because I was, I'm still young. I mean, still trying to make money, trying to make ends meet.
Were you doing like the classes at night then? Yep. Like when you got off work?
Evening.
Now, were the classes live, or was it something where you were going back watching recordings and then getting your information that way?
It was 30 hours live, and then the rest was just on my own.
Okay.
So there were certain days I had to take off, but that's much easier to do.
Right. So what was the first year like? I mean, once you got your license, how hard was the test? Was it? Mm-hmm. Did you pass with flying colors? Did they give you like a final result, or they just a pass or fail?
I passed by 1 point.
Are you serious?
Yes.
That's all that matters.
But I passed. Yeah, no, it was really hard. I mean, they try to trick you in these questions. And like I said, my assistant and now my mentoree that's got her license, she would ask me these questions and I was like, ooh, yeah, I have no clue.
That was years ago.
Yeah, that was, we don't do that. And a lot of it we don't. We're not really supposed to comment heavily on the finance side of things or the inspection side of things because we're not inspectors. We're not appraisers.
Right.
We're realtors.
Okay. So what was that first year like? I mean, you hit the ground running and you hit it hard, I feel like.
Yeah, I was really fortunate. I started at Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate. It was like a big family and everyone was helpful and guided me on the way. Well, I signed up for this free lead router at the office and I got a call, a family, and this was like a month in. This couple saw that the friend's house next door went up for sale and they're like, we just want to buy it. Can we go see it? Can we buy it? And I was like, absolutely. So I showed them this house and it was with an agent in my office, Kim Soper. And
Is this your first house then?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the first house that I was looking at. Anything was first. They didn't know I was brand new. They walked in and they're like, we want it. They're our friends. I think they'll go with our offer. And I was like, and they're like, what do we do now? And I was just, well, you go on back home and I will give you a call and I'll send all the documents. And then I called Kenny, my broker, and I was like, what do I do? I have no idea. Because school doesn't prepare you for that. It doesn't. It prepares you for law and ethics, which, I mean, truth be told, for me, ethics is pretty simple. You do the right thing.
Right.
You be honest. You disclose. But as far as how contracts works and all that, I had to wing it.
So it was straight up hands-on, like learn as you go.
And we got the offer. And they're like, can you sell our house? And I said, absolutely.
So that was the beginning of the snowball.
And then they're like, well, our mother wants to buy our house. So we'll sell it to her and you can sell her townhouse in Lexington because this was in Winchester. And I was like, absolutely.
So you had like 3 houses right off the bat.
Yeah,
after
right
that
off the
first.
bat. And then it just kind of kept going. And people referred me and people trusted me. And that made me feel wonderful. And it just became something I'm really passionate for. Like, it hurts me if my clients were to make a bad decision or to move in and hate their home like that. It hurts me. It's painful.
Well, I know you take it very serious. I mean, even though you have inspectors come out, I remember when I was looking for a house with you, and like inspectors would come out, but like it was like you were your own little inspector, like making sure they didn't miss anything, making sure that like you yourself, things that you had learned about AC units, roofing, gutters, like just small little things that I feel like maybe other realtors may just kind of breeze over or just trust the inspector. Like you're like, nah, I got to check it for myself first.
Let's check this crawl space out. I am known for getting in crawl spaces. And the reason behind that, again, is just experience. I've had my clients go under contract, get an inspection 2 weeks later, and find out there's a ton of water in the crawl. And for me, that's like, I could have seen that. I didn't need
Right.
an inspector to see that.
Right.
Like, you can
So the
see
inspector
water.
like missed it.
No, they didn't miss it. They caught it, but we missed it when we looked at the house, because a lot of times agents show you the house. They don't go in the crawl
Right.
space in the attic. And I didn't. I was new, and we found out later, which is not my job technically,
Right.
right? I'm there to show the house, give the information. I'm not there to go in the crawl space. But after that deal, I was like determined that I wasn't going to miss something that obvious again.
Right.
Because if I can look in, I'm going to look in. If I can crawl in, I'm going to crawl in. I will not do a belly crawl, though.
Yeah. Well,
That's where I
that's
draw the line.
too claustrophobic.
I can't do it.
Apparently under my house, there's a spot. I was getting some wiring done for my surround sound system here. And so I heard the electrician, he was like crawling in, and all of a sudden I heard him go, fuck. And I'm like right above him. Like, is everything all right? He goes, it's really tight in this spot. And apparently there's a spot underneath the house where like you literally you're almost having to like dig some dirt out from underneath yourself to like crawl through. And I'm just like, yeah, the second that happened, I would have been shimming back out and just leave that alone.
Yeah.
So,
well, there's a lot to be seen in there. I mean, there's your plumbing. You can see if there's galvanized plumbing, which is at the end of its life. If it is, there's a lot that you can tell without being an inspector. So I try to do a little preventative
How did you learn about that stuff though? I mean, is it
inspections.
like, okay, talking to inspectors and then like having things not pass and then being, I'm guessing, inquisitive on like why didn't it pass and like why that is?
That and John Gillis with #1 Kentucky Home Inspection, he has been one of my preferred home inspectors for the last 5 years. And I would follow him around. He did my first inspection in Winchester. And he came in, and I got there early before they did. And I was like, this is my first inspection. Please, let's not make it obvious, but I'm going to have a lot of questions. And I was just following him around. But after 5 years of following inspectors and then meeting contractors and then my family being in contracting, it was a little second nature. Roofing was pretty simple for me because my whole family did roofing.
Right.
So I'd be able to look up there and be like, well, that's an old roof. That's going to be a problem if you're a FHA buyer. Has to have 3 years left. So there's a lot of things you can know right off the bat and not waste your client's time and money.
So what are some different buying options? You said FHA. I don't even know what that means. I probably should.
That's okay. So there's different types of loans you can get for real estate. There's the VA loan for veterans, and that's 0 down. And then you got your FHA, which is 3.5% down. It's something a lot first-time home buyers use.
Okay.
Because it's a low down payment.
Right, because I guess I mean, at least in my head, it's always been like 20%, right? Like is the 20?
That's what people think, and that's for a conventional. It's a very strong loan. If you can get a conventional, put 20% down, that's great. You don't have to pay PMI, but not most people can't do that.
That's a lot of money,
Yeah.
especially in today's market. Like 20% down is like anywhere from 40, 60 grand for
That's a lot.
a house these days. Because
Right.
the houses are expensive.
Mm-hmm. So to be able to have these different loan options gives people opportunity to build that equity so that they have that $40,000 the next time for a conventional loan.
Right.
But if you have a VA or you have an FHA loan, then the appraisals are going to be a little more strict because you don't have as much money down. And they want to make sure, the bank want to make sure you don't have a short sale and they don't get their money.
Right. What's a short sale?
So if you owe more than what it's worth.
Oh, okay. So you're negative equity pretty much.
Basically.
Does that happen often?
It does. I mean, often, I don't know the numbers on that, but it happens. Absolutely.
I'm guessing it's probably people that only have in the house for a couple of years, though, where the market hasn't gone up in a manner of speaking. Like, because I feel like in most cases, you've had your house 5 or 10 years, you're gonna get positive equity out of it.
I think it depends a lot on maintenance more than anything.
Really?
Because houses, generally appreciate if you take care of them.
Okay.
But if you have a neighborhood that people aren't taking care of any of them, and yours included, you're going to start to see a decline in your value. So that's why inspections are so important. That's why the appraisers are so strict about repairs with FHA and VA loans, because they don't want their buyers to move into a house that 1 year from now needs a complete new roof and there's a leaky basement that's $10,000-$20,000 to fix. I mean, these are big repairs.
Right, because then their people that they're loaning the money to are all of a sudden falling behind, and then the bank's falling, or then the bank gets hit.
Yeah, and then they don't make their mortgage payment because, well, most of the time when it comes to that, they pay their mortgage, I guess, I hope, and then get some friend to do the repair. No, I'm kidding. It's not good. If you buy a house that you end up not realizing how much maintenance it needs, it can really hit you hard financially.
Okay. So what are some things that first-time home buyers, if I can talk today, first-time home buyers should know? I mean, like, I think, you probably deal with a lot of those, and there's probably a lot of things to know, a lot of things to look for anybody out there that's maybe looking to buy their first, and maybe even people that are buying their second, third house. I'd love to hear just your thoughts on that.
I think it's important to rely on your realtor because it's years of experience, tons of inspections that we have. If you choose the right realtor and you can trust that they're in it for you.
Okay.
I made a booklet for first-time home buyers. It's like a roadmap through the whole process. Yeah. And I shout out to Grace Torkelson, my assistant, who helped me with this so much. But it goes through basically all the steps.
So this is all homemade by you.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, I think that buyers should be educated, and that way and have an expectation, because I think that's when it gets hard, is when you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know what to do, and I don't like my people ever feeling like that. I want them to be like, okay, we're getting this house, and this is the next step, and this is that step, and I want them to be like right there with me. As far as like inspections, what should they know? That's something I'm here for. I'm here to get you through this. And this roadmap is kind of the things they need to know of what they need to do. But I think your realtor should take charge, and especially if they're first-time home buyers. There's a lot to know.
Do other realtors, like, that are, I guess, representing the homeowners, do they try to take advantage of those first-time home buyers? Do you see that happen often, or?
Well, if a first-time home buyer was able to get under contract without having an agent in this past market, that would have been fortunate because things are so crazy. But absolutely.
Okay.
They represent the seller, and when I represent the seller, I'm in it for the seller.
Right.
And I'm going to fight for them like I would if any of my clients. So you have to expect your agents to be fully representing their client.
So having a good real estate agent is extremely important then.
Oh, yes. I don't know how many deals I've had where I've been like, would this have happened if I wasn't here?
Right.
This has been atrocious. And
can you tell me a couple of examples of things that you've run into, both selling or buying?
With my roof experience, I was able to kind of save a deal. This first-time home buyer loved this historic home, but it needed a lot of work, and I could kind of tell the roof it could have an insurance claim, and the other side, the realtors, they didn't really know anything about insurance and how that works, but I did, because I'd had my roof replaced with insurance, and then, like I said, the roofing background. So it took a long time, And there was a lot of hurdles to get through with this process to negotiate with a seller that wasn't extremely reasonable or easy to get a hold of
Really?
and didn't have an email. So that was difficult. But I feel like not everybody puts the work in, and that's in every industry. You have
Right.
people that work really hard
Right.
and like care, and then you have people that are there to get a check. And I've had agents say, I don't care, basically, to me about breaking a contract. And that's another story I'll tell you. But for this one, I don't think it would have went through if I didn't know to call insurance, because he wouldn't have had the money to replace the roof. My clients needed it replaced because they didn't have the money to
Right.
replace it. So we were able to get it done. It just took about 60 days.
So you pretty much were able to help the owner of the house use their insurance to get the roof replaced.
And he only had to pay like a small deductible, but it needed to be done.
Right.
Like it was for him too. Like if we didn't buy it, you don't let water come in your home if you want to have good value. And that's what I'm talking about. If you don't keep maintenance up, you're just losing money. It's always better to repair, especially when it comes to your roof or your foundation, your gutters running out. Like it's crazy what the expense will be over time if you let those things go.
Because of rotting wood and like
Yeah.
just things are going to, especially with the
Thing
price
moving.
of construction. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, drywall. Drywall guys are not easy to find.
Well, and everything's up right now. I mean,
Yeah.
like just anything construction related is just so much more expensive than it was 2-3 years ago before COVID.
Yeah.
COVID has just beat us down.
Lumber, I think, has went down a little bit, but not like it was.
It's still up 2 or 3 times from what it was 2 or 3
Right.
years ago. So now this book that you made, is that something, do you have a PDF of it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you can send that to me and I can we can add that as a link that people could download or something. If you're okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's awesome.
It has what I think everything you need. It has lender options, home inspector options, appraisal options. It doesn't have realtor options because I'm obviously
You are the realtor,
I
right?
am the realtor.
There doesn't need to be any the option, the one and only option you need is sitting right in front of me right now.
Exactly. I feel like I'm really about my clients. I'm not one of those agents that like puts my calculator out and is like, how much money am I going to make this month? I don't know, because that's how real estate is. You really do not know how things are going to go. But I try to just make sure each client gets what they came to me for. So.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. So again, tell me a few more things about that first-time home buyers, things that they need to be looking for, especially for people that may not be in the area. Like what are things that a first-time home buyer or someone should be looking for in a realtor? What are things they should be looking for in a house? Are things that they should be looking as obstacles that could happen that they can work around?
I think the biggest obstacle is getting them to the spot to be able to buy their first home. So I think it's important to be talking over your finances and trying to make sure that you're not having things in collections, that your credit score is decent, that you're paying your bills on time. Late payments, things in collections, low credit, that's going to knock people out of getting a loan altogether. And then also you have, if you switch jobs a lot, that can also interfere with you being able to get a loan.
Showing stability within your job.
Basically, I try to think of it as if you had a friend that wanted to borrow $1,000,
Right.
and you knew that said friend never paid anything on time, that's more of a risky loan. You
Right.
may end up doing it because of your heart, but banks aren't going to use their heart.
Right.
They're going to look at you on paper and say, will they pay us back? And if they don't, then they're not going to loan you the money. So, and that's kind of what happened in the crash in 2008, is that people were getting loans that they weren't qualified to be getting.
And then they couldn't keep up with the payments.
Yeah. A lot of short sales. A lot of people not being able to make those payments.
Do you think that will happen again?
No, because they've been so strict. Like, since I've been in real estate, they are very strict on who they're giving loans out to. So I think that's changed a lot.
How is the Fed raising the interest rates going to affect things? Because I mean, it was around 3 or 4%. And now it's 6.5.
Yeah, it keeps rising, and it's going to keep rising.
What do you think it will top out at?
Ooh. Now, I am not a lender, but I mean, I think it could get to the 7 point mark.
Really?
But here's the thing, renting is 100% interest.
Yes, that is true.
So, and if you think about the cars that you buy, a lot of those are
There are a little bit less headaches though to renting in some aspects.
Sure.
Something goes wrong with the house, you need a roof, certain things that like you're not really liable for unless you are the one doing the damage to the house. Then maybe you'd be a little more liable.
Yeah.
So there are, in some ways, I think when it comes to renting, at least for me, because I didn't end up buying. So I'm happy I didn't because at the time I was approved for a loan. We looked at a handful of houses. And out of nowhere, they shut my department down where I was working at the time and put me in a position where, like, I don't know. I probably would have been able to stay afloat, but I don't know if I would have been able to keep paying my mortgage. And I probably would have had a roommate at the time, so that would have helped. Really, the one house that we really looked at, which was right up the street from here, or not too far from here, I think the mortgage actually probably would have been much lower than what I'm paying now monthly. But then again, the market wasn't nearly as bad then as it is now. But yeah, buying a house right then and there may not have been my best bet, and it seems to have worked out okay. But for me, renting in some ways is less of a headache to a certain extent. And I'm sure once you finally get through all the process of buying a house, and if you don't run into any major issues with your house, then it's like you're just renting from the bank in a manner of speaking.
Yes. Except in this way, if you're in a tight spot in 2 years,
too.
You can sell it and make $30,000.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if the market keeps going the way it is.
Right.
One of my fitness clients bought a condo in Florida like 2-3 years ago for like $115,000, and he just sold it for $360,000. I mean, oh my gosh.
Wow.
I mean, like, yeah. And he said he put about, I think he said he put about $15,000 into it, but he still made like well over $200,000 in profit. Now, granted, I don't know how taxes work with that because that'd be like capital gains. So, they're probably going to get 15, 20, 25% of that, but he's still going to come out ahead like $125,000 in 2 years, which most people, I mean, that's a really good return on your investment.
That was extra special. Indeed. And that's something to talk about too, is if you buy a property and you live in it less than 2 years and you try to sell it, you do have to pay 20% of your profit to the government for capital gains.
Oh, so it is 20. It's right around 20%, or it is 20%. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, I do know with the VA loan, you have to have the house for X amount of years before you can sell it, correct? Or before you can sell it and buy another house with the VA loan.
Probably, but that would be more of a lender.
Okay.
Because that could change, and I'm not really sure on that.
Not your expertise.
It's not my expertise. But I did get some good info, actually, now that we're talking about rates, and I'm going to read this out so I don't say it wrong. Stephen Gray with Union Home Mortgage. I've worked with him since I started. He was telling me that if you pay double the first month when you buy a house, if you pay double your mortgage the first month, or an extra payment at the end of each year, every year, you pay your mortgage off in 23 years. It takes off 7 years of payments.
Just by pretty much making one extra payment a year, in a manner of speaking.
Yeah.
Is that just because it helps beat down the principal?
Yeah.
Okay.
You start paying, well, you're paying more towards the principal when you make that double payment, yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. Isn't that neat?
That's a lot. Like, it doesn't seem like a lot of extra, or a lot of, so it's pretty much 1 month a year. You just need to double down on the payment and try to do it on the front end, because then you're
apparently, it has to be either the first month or at the end of each year.
So the last month. So
I would go ahead and check with your lender.
Right.
But if you just bought a house, I'd be calling them up and
7
making
years,
it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
Anything you can make towards the principal to pay it off quicker, the more equity you're going to buy, because you're paying it down, value's going up.
Well, I know a lot of people try to double down on their mortgage payment to just get it paid off faster if they can.
Yeah, because then you're paying less interest.
And again, not only are you paying less interest, but you're building that equity. So, like, it's not like money that you're throwing down the drain, where if you double down on your car and pay it off a little bit faster, that car's still depreciating. Like, either way you look at it, like if you pay it off in 3 or 5 years, it's still going to depreciate. Where with a house, it's like, this is more money you have towards another house or towards something else. If, if you need to move or whatever.
Right. And people have to have cars, so there's no hate. But going back to me, like, loving real estate and why I like to do it, that is because it is, generally speaking, a huge financial improvement.
Right.
And cars don't appreciate. I did buy a truck, but they do seem to appreciate more.
Yeah, they don't depreciate anywhere near the amount that that and like nice vans, like minivans, like family vans, they seem to hold value pretty well, but like cars do not. It seems like it's maybe specific cars, but people need trucks.
That's what I was just thinking. Maybe I could also sell trucks.
I remember when you got that truck, you were super excited.
Yes.
You still loving that thing?
Yes, I do. She's got me through a lot.
Big old truck.
Yeah. And so back to the first time home buyers,
yeah.
How important it is to like start setting yourself up for that goal. You might not be ready to buy a house and have that commitment right now, but it needs to be in your goals. It just needs to be financially.
So again, going back, what are some things that people can do to start putting themselves in that better position? Like you said, like job consistency, good credit,
paying bills on time, keeping your credit use under 30%. So like if you have a credit limit of $10,000, you want to get it paid every month under 30%, because then that helps your credit build.
Okay, so you want to always have like 7,000 rotating off that 10,000 available, in a manner of speaking, right? So you're only using roughly 30%. Okay.
Or at least you can use it, but make sure you're paying it down to like 25% left every month.
You could use 50% of it for the month, but by the time it's time to make the payment, try to get it back down to 25%.
Yes. And again, these things are something you want to discuss with a lender, which I have a lot of recommendations. I have a few recommendations for lenders that you can reach out to that can help you build that credit and get in a good position.
Okay.
And then having a solid agent when the time comes, because really the first step is to get approved with a lender and get that set up. And then your agent would help you find homes from there.
What do you look for in an agent? I mean, what are certain tell signs that like this is a lazy agent, or this agent may not be a good fit, or this agent is a good fit?
Are they listening to you and what you're looking for? It's hard to say, like, are they honest? Because, you can't always tell.
Right, unless you know them personally.
Which I've been really fortunate. I'd say like 85-90% of my business is people I know.
Oh, yeah, because I knew your husband, and he's like, my wife's a real estate agent, and then I met you, and then I was like, oh.
And there we were. So, I mean, you want someone you can trust. I think I have, Google reviews, and you can go on there and look for business profiles, see how active they are in the market. I think stalking someone's Facebook page is good because you get to know them a lot. What they're going to learn about me is I work heavily with Lexington Pit Crew Dog Rescue.
We haven't even talked about that yet.
Yeah. I love dogs. I love rescue. I heavily market my listings, and I'm generally speaking trying to like do good into the world. So I think that positive energy is shown from my social media.
Right.
So I'd say that's one way you can get to know somebody, is what they're posting. I think if it's a lot of emotional stuff and negative stuff, I wouldn't go that route.
Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, we'll talk about a little bit about your community outreach, because I mean, you don't just work with Lexington Pitbull. You've helped local homeless people. I mean, you really do kind of give back here in Lexington. And I know your biggest passion is the Lexington Pit Crew, helping refoster pit bulls, and I mean, you're on the board as well, I think, with them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You've been doing that for quite a while.
I got Luna, my first pit bull foster, about it's been longer than that now, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and she was really messed up. She was terrified of people and
heavily abused, I'm guessing.
Heavily abused and passed around, and she killed a bunny at her last foster, and she couldn't have that. And certain dogs have prey drive. It happens. It doesn't mean that they're like aggressive towards people, but she was just really scared. And I was like, oh, we can't let this dog get adopted. She's just got to stay with us. She's been through too much. So Brad, being my husband, being the soft heart that
Yes.
he is as well, was
He's
like,
just not gonna say no to
absolutely.
you.
No, well, he was worse than me. Oh, absolutely. He's worse than me. So we kept Luna, and I watched Cesar Millan for like ever because this girl had trouble. I had to bring in a trainer, but she is like the best with my kids. And I'm so glad because my other two dogs, they don't really like the kids that much. They felt betrayed when we had children. They're like, we're not your babies anymore.
Right.
But they were. They just, had to share. But that's when I started getting involved with Lexington Pit Crew, and I met a lot of wonderful people. And it just became a thing where it's like you can't unsee issues. I can't. Maybe I need to work on that in my therapy sessions. But when I see a problem, I do feel a need to do something if I can. And I could at the time. I didn't have kids, and I was like, what a good cause. Animal laws in Kentucky I think we're one of the worst states for animal cruelty laws.
Still continuing? I mean, are they?
Yes. It's awful. And so I just felt like I had to do something. So I got involved, and now I'm on the board. I do the intake for Lexington Pit Crew, the intake coordinator. I work with some amazing people, and we dedicate a lot of hours to it.
Now, is it just pit bulls that you work with specifically?
Bully breeds.
Okay.
Which is hard because there's a lot of restrictions, especially in Lexington, for any like bully breed or even big dogs in rentals.
And what does a bully breed mean?
So pit bull isn't an actual breed. That kind of covers 3 different bully breeds, and so it's kind of just a
Blanket. Mm-hmm. Okay, but is bully breed just a pit bull, or
it's Staffordshire Terrier, pit bull, a bully? I'm gonna have to look this up, David, because I can never remember these names because I'm just like the pit bulls,
right.
Bully breeds. We don't care much about.
But it's only pit bulls that are called bully breeds. It's not
Yes.
like other type of dogs that fit underneath that blanket.
No.
Okay, that's what I was.
Not
wondering.
that you were. Yeah, most of the time people see them and they're like, oh, that's a pity. But you'll see the difference when you look at them. Like there's a bully.
Right.
Bull terrier. That might be what
Okay.
it is. And they're a lot bigger. Like Luna is like 40 pounds, and she's a pit bull, like Staffordshire Terrier.
What about the little tiny dangerous pit bull things that cost way too much?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Is it Boston Terrier? No.
Are you talking about Frenchies?
Frenchies. That's what I'm talking about.
Not the same.
They're pretty dangerous.
Oh,
they scare me.
I love Frenchies. I know. There's Cosette. She's the most adorable Frenchie my friend has. I'm like, oh, she's perfect. You would love her.
Cost too much.
Yes. Well, it was free for her.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. Yes. People pay a lot for dogs. And I'm not going to come on here and hate on people that breed, but I will say that breeding pit bulls is a mistake, right? I mean, there's so many of them in shelters, like being euthanized regularly. I get emails 10, 15 a day from shelters like, we're full. This is the euthanized list.
Wow.
You have until Thursday. It's hard. It's like really hard to see that and then know people are paying thousands to keep breeding these dogs that are just ending up in shelters because they don't do their due diligence to find them a solid home. So it's like a problem. So I don't want to hate on people that have done that, but I would like them to open their eyes a little bit. I think perception is a big thing.
Okay. Do you guys have problems finding people to help foster these pit bulls? Do they find a forever home?
We have an amazing foster group in Lexington. So we've been really fortunate. We've saved, I think the number is 78 dogs this year.
Okay.
So
and found them like a home. Mm-hmm. How do you find people like once they're being fostered? How do you actually find people that want to really commit to the dog?
I think it's because Lexington Pit Crew has been around for 9 years. We have a really strong following, so we could do a lot on social media. I mean, daily. It's like a business being ran.
So people might see it and they're like, "Oh, that pit bull is so cute. I want to go see it," and then maybe take it.
Well, it's a little extensive, yeah. So they have to submit an application.
Okay.
And that goes to our adoptions coordinator, Mara. We check vet references. We make sure their dogs are up to date and fixed. We do a home visit. We come to your home and we look at things and we meet you. Because
So not just anybody can adopt from you guys.
No. And we have to be that way. Because our obligation to these dogs, they always come back to us. They will never be in a shelter again. So if that person decides 5 years from now, I don't want this dog, legally they come back to us. So we try to be very strict on who takes these dogs. It's supposed to be forever.
Right.
And understandably, there are times when it's not, but that's why we're so strict. And like I said, the laws in Kentucky are really horrible.
It's popular.
I have never been called so much in my life.
Well, this is what happens.
No,
you get on a podcast and everybody wants to talk to you.
Yes.
They don't know why, but they want to talk to you.
And this is now, I mean, that was like 6. I'm hung up here.
Well, you are a realtor, so I figure you get phone calls nonstop, day in and day out.
I do. There's not really a break with.
Are people calling you at like midnight?
No, I have, but it's like I know they're calling because we're negotiating a contract and we're trying to get it signed.
But not just some random call about some random house or real estate related thing.
No, but in the mornings I do. So or in the evening, I will get a call from my sign, some person. I saw your sign, and it's like 7:30 in the morning, and I'm just like, did you? Oh my goodness.
What time's your day start every day?
7, but like I have to wake up because I have children. I am a night person, and really with real estate, you're showing houses a lot of times in the evening.
Right.
So it's very common for me to come home at 10 or 11 at night. So in the morning, I do prefer to give myself like a nice hour with my coffee and to gather my thoughts. And that's an hour after the kids go to daycare, because that's like chaos. Then when they're there, I'm like, and I need like some time, but I don't usually get that.
Reflection is important. It's very important, actually.
I need a moment. But yeah, it's kind of constant.
Oh, and I know your life's been kind of chaotic because you guys are getting work done on your house. So you guys have been living out of a hotel, and are the dogs in the hotel with you?
Yes, of course they are. I mean, my whole house is torn up completely. All my things are in pods. We thought it'd be a month. It's been almost 3.
Really?
Yeah.
How much longer? Are they giving you an estimate?
Yes. We're hoping the 7th. I've been saying
like 2 more weeks.
Yeah, I've been saying 2 weeks for like a month, so I'm like hesitant to say it. But home ownership can be trivial, but the good thing is, home insurance did kick in on this one, thank goodness. And my house is gonna be better for it.
Do they help pay for the hotel as well?
Yes.
Really?
It's covered. Yeah.
Because that could be expensive, being stuck in a hotel for 3 months
Yes.
while you're getting repairs done to the house.
Well, if I would have known it would have taken this long, so you learn.
Right.
If I would have known that, I would have probably got like an Airbnb or a short-term rental, because it's been hard with the dogs.
Where you would have had a little bit more space.
Yeah, and it probably would have been cheaper for insurance, I'd say.
They probably appreciate that.
They probably would have. Oh well.
Oh well.
Sorry about it. Yeah, it's been a little different and chaotic with living in the hotel and trying to keep up with my normal business.
Now, how big's the team that you work with? Do you work with I know a lot of realtors these days just kind of attach themselves to a broker, and they kind of have their own business and they just use that broker. And then there's, where you're part of a team and you have multiple brokers that you can work with, et cetera, if I'm not correct, right? Or
well, almost. When you get your license, you have to have a broker within 30 days. Like, you have to have your license under a broker.
can you get a broker license? Can you be both?
After 2.5 years of real estate experience, you can go to school to get your broker's license.
So you could do both at the same time, be your own broker in a manner of speaking.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've thought about it.
Does that does that make you more money?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
No. I mean, it depends if you want to go solo and
Right.
be your own
Just
broker.
makes you more knowledgeable, though. Or even then.
Well, I would hope so, but after doing real estate school and doing real estate in life,
Right.
I'm like, I didn't learn anything
The
from
translation
school.
didn't,
No, I would think that the broker expertise comes from being a broker and like living that life and answering questions from every single agent. And that's kind of where that's why I haven't went to broker school, because I don't know. I like working with my clients. I like being there on everything. Like, I'm a little controlling in that way. A team would be, I have a desire to have a team, and I do have an admin.
Okay.
But I am so picky, and I think there's so many things that can be missed that I'm not really willing to like hand over the reins yet. And I'm going to need some time. But I do love having an admin that keeps things like I'm able to spend more time with my clients
Right.
instead of in the back end doing marketing and keeping up.
Okay. So you do all that yourself, pretty much, the marketing and.
Well, Grace does it.
Okay.
My admin. Yeah.
Is that the one I met with? Okay. Yeah. I met her a couple times. I believe,
Yeah. She's great. She's a new agent.
She's like attached to your hip.
She's my girl. I love her so much, and she's got so much drive, and she reminds me a lot of me. Like,
well, I know you went through a couple girls like that, right? That just like when the tough, when it started to get tough, they kind of like, this is more than I want to put in.
Yeah.
But she's been with you for a while now. Every time I bump into you.
Yeah, she's right there, and she got her license. It was writing up an offer yesterday.
If you're interested in getting in real estate, would you say attaching yourself to a local agent that you may know, or finding someone that can teach you and mentor you? Would you say that's very important while you're going through school and stuff?
Not while you're going through school, but after, yes. I think it's really important to choose the right brokerage, number one. What
are some things you looked for, or you would go back and look for now that you've been doing this for 5 years?
Well, I think it's about community. I think it's about your brokerage offering a lot of training, but not the kind that's like wasting time and charging you money. It should be like free trainings.
Because the better you do, the better the brokerage does, correct?
Right. And I think when brokers try to like nitpick and get a bunch of money from their agents, especially newer agents, like they're not thinking of the big picture.
So how does the hierarchy work when you work in like a larger office like that? So you have like broker agents, you have real estate agents.
You just have one broker. And maybe,
for usually an office?
Yeah, like one principal broker.
And how many agents are going to be attached to that broker?
It can be one, it can be none, it can be hundreds.
Okay, so you could have a very large office with just a single broker.
Mm-hmm. And then a broker could have associate brokers like in other offices.
Okay.
But there's only like one principal broker.
So your agent that you'd be working with is probably the broker they're dealing with is also dealing with a lot of other agents as well then in most cases.
Yes. And so for me, I think the most important thing is to have initiative.
Okay.
Because you need to ask questions. And if you feel like, oh, this is a dumb question or I should know that, that's wrong.
And if your agent makes you feel like it's a dumb question, then you're probably not a good fit.
Right. Well, yeah, if your broker is like not trying to
you're just saying
you,
as an agent, you should have a lot of questions for your broker if you don't know something like.
Yes. Because every deal's different. So I'm still asking my broker questions. And when I come to Christy Gooch, she's like, honey, what you need? And when I tell her, she always has a great answer. And the way she says it is like perfect. Because I had, another story, kind of irritating story. I had a deal in Paris. My buyer is buying this farm that we went to look at. It had this wood burning stove. It vented out through the roof chimney. We go back after inspection to check it out before we close. Wood stove gone. And I'm like, where is the wood stove? And the agent's like, oh, well, that's not staying. That doesn't convey. And I said, it's attached. Of course it conveys. Like per contract, it states you can't be removing the water heater, things that are attached to the property. That's
most contracts, something like that's in there where like certain things cannot move.
Yes, unless it's stated otherwise. Like it would have had to say, he would have had to write in, this does not convey.
Okay, and actually say that they're going to keep the water heater per se, right?
Or the wood stove.
Or the wood stove, right?
Yeah,
okay.
They would, but he didn't do that. So he...
And I'm guessing was that something the buyer liked about the house was the wood stove?
Yeah, they did. And it had like a brick surrounding. So it was like when he took it out, it was very unfinished, which is the whole point. Like
it made the house.
It had a chimney.
Right.
Like it was attached. And so I called the agent and he's like, oh no, that's not attached. That's like a refrigerator. And I'm like, it is not like a refrigerator. Right. What do you mean? A refrigerator plugs in. What are you talking about?
And when a refrigerator leaves, it doesn't look like it's a big mess.
Like something missing. It just isn't. It was kind of irritating to even have to say that. So I tell Christy, I was like, this is what I'm dealing with. And he's acting like it's attached. Can you talk to his broker? So she looks him up and she goes, honey, he is the broker.
Oh.
And I was like, no, you can't be this ignorant. And as a broker, but you can. And I've had that happen many times where I'm like, who is this? They must be new.
So
and I look.
how did you guys fix the problem? Did they put it back?
No. So this is the guy that when I called and I was like arguing with him, this is not attached. They need to put it back. What's the value of it? Let's make this right for our clients, which agents do a lot. I don't know how many times I've forked out money just to make something right.
Right.
Because I feel like it should be.
Right.
And he said, listen, I'm not doing anything and I don't care. It's not staying. They can walk away if they want. So, when he said, I don't care, I said, oh, that's obvious. I was really pissy. But I was. I mean, it's like, if you don't care, then hang up your license because I'm here to sell houses legally and do it the right way. So, that's when you see me get real vicious.
Were they under contract?
Yeah, we were under contract.
Could they had sued or something to that
and
effect?
They could. And here's the thing is, sometimes these things are so like $1,200 for a new wood stove is not worth lawyer fees to take them to court and fight over.
Well, it's a matter of principle sometimes. I know people that will lose money just to shove it up the other person's ass. If you know what I mean. They're like, I don't give a shit if it cost me $5,000, even though it should only cost me $1,200, just to say, fuck you. I'm going to get what, 100%. You're not going to treat me like this.
Yes. And part of me was like, I wish my clients would let me be like, fine, bye. But it's not my place. I represent what their needs are.
And so they're like, all right, whatever, it's not worth the battle.
We moved on and I, gave a closing gift towards that. And,
but then he's going to do it again and again and again.
Exactly. It really upsets me. No, it upsets me so much. And this is when that deal where I was frank with that for sale by owner, the deal had fallen through because of them. And it was like totally unfair. And it really put my people in a bind because they were under contract to sell their house. So that fell through. And it just burned me up that people could treat others like that. So
now, what's it like being a female? I mean, well, first off, in general, what's it like being a female in the real estate market? I feel like it's probably unlike some other industries, it's probably not as male dominated. Like I definitely see a lot more females working in the real estate industry, or is it? Would you say?
No, you're right. I think there's more females.
50? So you actually say it would be more of a female dominated.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that? Like, how does that convey as far as just being a female in that industry? Like, do you think I guess you have less issues with, I know you've had some issues with some guys over the years. You've told me some stories. But because of that, do you think that a lot of the guys that are in there's I guess there's just, in today's world, it seems like women just have so many issues, and especially in male dominated industries and being suppressed and stuff like that, where in real estate, it's a little bit different.
I would say there is more female agents. Now, women in general, I feel in sales or any time when your image strongly weighs on your income, you have to be smart and you have to be... I've always felt like I had to put on a certain vibe, I guess, like a mask. I mean, from my dad saying, like walk into a room like you own it, it's a mindset.
Right.
And when I shake someone's hand, if it's like, oh, like this, that's the treatment I get from them, that I'm dainty and fragile. If I look at them in the eye and I'm like, I'm Sierra with Remax Elite Realty, and I'm going to inspect the hell out of this house today. Or, you know what I mean? Like I'm like here and I'm like looking at them in the eye. I generally have people's trust immediately.
Okay.
But I do think that if I were to just roll out of bed and just look down when I'm talking to people and feel like less confident, that's how I'm going to be treated. I've always been a big believer in, this is actually another tattoo I was going to get because I almost always forget it.
Do you think the way you carry yourself to a certain extent also is can help the way that you're treated by your buyers or other male agents, stuff like that? Like that has a big point in like how things play out.
Yes, I think that women have to be more aware of what they're putting off than maybe men do, because maybe men get taken seriously just right off the bat because they're a man.
Right.
Like, oh, he's a good old boy from Berea. He's going to get all the sales because he's He just knows what he's doing, whether he does or
Right.
not. And that's kind of with that agent, that broker that didn't care. He had been doing it a long time, and he's just doing deals here and there. He doesn't want to keep up with the contracts. He doesn't care. He may be able to get by with that. I would not survive
Till
the
someone
industry.
finally calls him out on it.
Well,
Or sues
he'll
him
just
or
hang
whatever.
up his license. He's already done his damage, or someone sues him. Yeah. But a failure to confront is permission to continue. So you always say like, I'm the badass, but it's more of years and years of being treated badly and abused. To me, realizing
And do you find that happens in your industry? Like men,
I think it happens to women in general.
That's what okay. Well,
I don't
right,
know if
women in
real
general,
estate,
but
no, but I mean, I think that things are changing, of course, but there's a lot of women that don't know they have a voice or don't know that they don't have to be a victim.
Right.
And eventually I learned.
do you think sometimes they don't realize it too?
Absolutely. Mental health is huge. I love therapy. I think a lot. I don't know one person that doesn't have trauma.
That's true.
And if trauma undealt with is going to have symptoms.
Right.
A wound undealt with is going to give you problems. So that's how I look at it. I feel like I'm a pretty progressive person, and I've been through enough events in my life and enough traumas that I could either continue a cycle or stay a victim, or I could be better
Right.
for
So
it.
being aware is huge.
I think so. Yeah, I think, and that's why I think when people get to know me, they can trust that when I'm their agent, like I'm in it for you. If that means I lose money, so be it. If that means we're looking at 100 houses, I want you happy. And I like
Right.
genuinely mean that. But like, because I want to sleep at night. This isn't about a paycheck. This is about me knowing that when you bought that house, that was the best decision for you and you're so much happier. Now, I can't always control things, but I try.
Right. Do you have clients that are upset later on? Like they buy a house and they're like, oh man. Or for the most part, everyone that you've worked with pretty much is like you found that perfect fit for them.
I would say mostly every single one now.
Can't make everyone happy.
Can't make everyone happy. If you would have asked me this a month ago, I would have said every single one. But last week, I got a fateful call, and she was like, girl, I thought this was a good house, but I do not like this subdivision. And I was like, really? Because this is one of the subdivisions you wanted. Like her
Right.
dad were like, we can't miss another one because we had put offers in before. She's
Right.
like, this is my house. And I was like, well, we'll get it. And we did.
Right.
And then she's like, I don't want it. So we had a long talk, and I'm gonna do everything I can
Was she
to
gonna
help her.
try to sell the house and then try and find somewhere else?
That's what we've talked about, but I also think it might be a good idea for her dad to maybe hang on to it, as a rental. Like they're
Rentals are not. Yeah. The guy across the street just bought a house over in Shinaway, and he was like, I don't even know what I'm gonna do with this house yet. And I was like, man, like, as long as you find a good renter that I like, because they're going to be my neighbor.
right.
But like, I honestly think, you should rent it. And he's like, well, I don't know if I want to like deal with all that. I'm like, there's companies that will come in and kind of like, there's good companies out there that will help you run the property. You can still make profit. I don't know if he has a mortgage or not, but to me, I think holding on to property right now and renting it, I mean, that you're getting paid money and the value's still going up. Mm-hmm. The second you sell it though, that's the end. That's the end of the profit, the end of the, maybe you get a chunk of change right then and there, but you could just keep getting little small pieces of change and then you can get your big chunk of change later on.
Yeah. So what the saying is, buy low, sell high. Yeah. And we're starting to see a market where interest rates are rising. And even though I still think people are going to buy and sell with interest rates rising, it is going to change how the market has been, which has been really chaotic, to be honest. I'd much rather my clients have like a day to think about it instead of 30 minutes. So that I think a lot gets missed when we have to be on the go so quick and have to have everything in writing so quick, and they're choosing between 7 different offers. So I'm hoping that this change is just going to make it a little more even, but still profitable. Like I want it profitable for everyone. So I'm not that worried, honestly. I think that it's going to be good for us.
So where are you moving in the future? Like what are things that you're thinking about as a real estate agent, things that you want to still achieve within this, where are you going with that,
My ultimate goal is to be able to do what I love, which is be the agent,
Right.
not the broker, not just a team lead. Like I want to still do real estate, but I want to be able to make it to soccer practice and whatever my kids have. And I mean,
Do you find that real estate gets in the way of some of that?
well, my babies are young. They're 2 and 3.
Right.
So right now is my moment to like really hustle because they're getting bigger. They're getting more aware that mommy's gone a lot. And that's heartbreaking because
Now I feel bad for inviting you on the podcast.
it took me away from my kids.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's a work day, so it's fine. But every day is a work day. And that's the hard thing about real estate. I can't give my kids stability in the way of, oh, I'll be there at 10, because it's kind of crazy. So that's why I like that I have Grace as my admin, but she's also a new agent. So, and she's been under me and like you said, attached to my hip. She knows how I do things. And I'm kind of like training her to be that person that I can rely on to meet my clients one evening to show them a house when I have to be at soccer practice. But
So
still,
building the team that you can work with and that, can free you up more.
yes, a small team though, because if you get too big with a team, you become like a little broker yourself, because you're just like
Right.
keeping them all on cue.
And do you just get a piece of what they sell then, in a manner of speaking, like putting them onto houses or clients and stuff like that?
Yeah, and that would be the easiest way for me to make money.
And they have to be at your level though. Cause if they're like, okay, anybody that like when I, as a photographer and videographer, when I send someone out on a job and I'm not there, there's a certain level of professionalism, communication, quality of work that I expect out of them because they're representing me. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
they're an extension of me. And if they fuck up, then it comes back on me, which so far I haven't had any issues. Everybody that I've sent out has always come back. They've been happy customers, but that's very important.
Yeah.
And most of them, like you, they pretty much I mentored them, or they were attached to my hip for a long time to see how I operate. They went on jobs with me to see how I communicate. I also saw how they interacted. And I've had people in the past too where they're great when I need to hire somebody and they're with me, but I would never let them go and do a job without me just because 9 times out of 10, they just don't have the communication skills. Like they don't have the critical thinking skills. Like, oh, if this happens, how am I going to like get around this situation? Right.
Right.
So you need someone that's intelligent enough to be like, oh, I didn't see this wrench coming. So like, what am I going to do to fix it right here, right now? So the client doesn't notice and like we can keep moving smoothly.
Yes.
And that takes a lot of years of experience to get there.
It does. It takes a lot of experience and not everybody has it.
Right.
Like it just is what it is. Not everybody's meant to do real estate. I do feel confident that Grace is going to be like my partner.
Well, she's been with you the longest I've seen any, because like I said, she's probably the 3rd or 4th girl that I feel like
We've been 2.
Is it just 2?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel
Make
it
me
was
sound
more
like
than
I'm a
that.
slave driver over here. No, I mean, it was just the one, and she got to the real estate exam, and it was just so difficult. And I think at that point, she realized that maybe real estate wasn't for her.
Okay.
And I'm all about, like, I'm not going to push you to do something
Right.
you want to do. I think you have to be dedicated. You have to be, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to put everything towards it. And that's why I'm saying, initiative is so important because your clients need you every step of the way. If you don't know the answer, to find the answer. I'm not just like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know what the HOA restrictions are. No, I find them. If I have to, I got to find them. I have mowed lawns. I have moved people out when they got behind and the new buyers were coming in. I have done so many things to get a deal closed because it's like important to me.
You've hired amazing photographers to take pictures of your house.
Sure have. I hire photographers. I hire you you're the only photographer I've ever hired, by the way, other than Brad because he doesn't count. He's my husband.
Fair enough.
But,
Fair enough. I appreciate the business.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. Well, this has been a blast talking
Yeah.
real estate. Hopefully some people got some good knowledge out of this.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say to people out there? This is your chance to kind of promote yourself, or any last little pieces of wisdom or advice you want to give?
I would just like to say,
Before we wrap up, I have a question.
okay.
Just a real estate question?
Yeah.
Hit us with it, Keenan.
Ready.
Uh-oh, technician's coming in hot.
Well, I don't usually ask questions. That's why I was like confused on how real estate kind of works, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
So you get an agent beforehand to find a house. And then say you're driving around and you see a house that has a number. Is that a different agent's house? Would I have to go to my agent to see if they could communicate with that agent to sell it?
Very good
do I
question.
call
Oh well,
that
I guess
agent?
we're not wrapping up quite yet.
No, I love this
Keenan's
question.
coming in hot with the questions, man.
Yeah.
So, in a real estate transaction, when you see a property listed, you see that sign out there, that is the seller's agent. And that job for a seller's agent is to list the house and promote it. Then a buyer's agent, so I can be both. I can represent the seller or I can represent the buyer.
You can't represent both the seller and the buyer, correct?
I can,
Oh.
actually, as long
It's
as
not-
everything's disclosed.
Okay. I didn't
And
know if that
they-
was like an ethical issue or not.
I think I don't like to do it.
Okay.
I definitely don't like to do it because there's certain things I can't really discuss with either one of them. And I don't like, I'm opinionated.
And you're privy to both pieces of information.
Exactly. And I'm super opinionated. I want to be able to tell my clients, oh no, that is way too high. They will go down lower. Whereas if I represent both sides, I know what they'll go to. I just have to be like, make your best offer. Good luck. I'm not that agent. So it's hard for me. I have done it with both sides being like, no, I'm only using you. And I'm like, seriously, guys? Like, we can just bring in, and they wouldn't have it. So I have done that. But yes, if you saw a sign, you would call your agent and be like, hey, can you check out if I can get in for a private showing? Your buyer's agent would book a showing with the seller's agent. Now there's for sale by owners,
Yes.
which means they don't have a listing agent at all.
Okay. But
Here's what you run into with listing
Yes.
agent or not having a listing agent. They don't have to follow the same rules
huh.
because they don't have a license. So if you're just buying directly from that seller, where did they get their price? Sometimes they literally just come up with it.
Okay.
Or
They
Zillow. Zillow
or
just-
Zillow, which
Yeah.
is not to be trusted.
Wait, why shouldn't Zillow be trusted?
Because it's an algorithm. So like it can tell you in the area what's selling for the same square feet, and like how many bed and bath. But what if so let's say the house next door, 1,200 square feet, no updates.
Okay.
Ancient, needs about $50,000 worth of updates. And then 2 doors down, same square feet, completely updated. Zillow's not going to be able to tell you from that there's a difference because it's just an algorithm. It's just telling you
so
stats.
You could be buying a worst house for
For the
higher,
so the price can't be trusted. You actually have to know the adjustments. You need to be able to look at the home. What needs to be done? Is the kitchen 50 years old? Well, then it's not the same price as this one because this one's been remodeled. So that's why it's like really important to have an agent because there's no home my buyers offer on without me running a comp search, which is me doing what Zillow does, but
Yeah.
with a person.
So, if you're a first-time home buyer, you should look for an agent first and then ask them to look into like a house that you saw possibly on Zillow to do their own search personally.
Ideally.
And you'll run what's comps, right? Is that what
Mm-hmm.
it's called? And you'll get an idea of what the house should be going for and what other houses have sold recently. How
Yes,
does that
a
work?
comparative market analysis,
Okay.
a CMA or comps as we call it. I look in the subdivision, I look at the same age, square footage, lot size, and then I look to see how it is on the inside. Is it updated? Does it have a new roof? Does it have an old roof? All these things are going to make a difference on your appraisal and your price. So when you asked me something, and now I'm kind of forgetting. There was, do you want an agent first? You want to have an agent, but more than likely when you get pre-approved and you have a real estate agent, they're going to set you up with a search. So they're going to be emailing you homes. It's probably, I always check for sale by owners. I try to take on as much of the job as I possibly can so that they can work and pay their bills and I can focus on listening to what they wanted and trying to find it. But yes, you always want to just go to your agent because the listing agent represents the seller. And like we talked about, they solely represent the seller. They're not going to be trying to help you out. So
Okay, so make sure you can even get pre-approved for a loan to buy a house, find an agent, and then have them help you find the house that you want to get.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And then you go under contract. And I'll leave you with this today if you want, because it's like the roadmap. I put select your realtor before choosing a lender because, again, I'm a little controlling.
Well, a lot of realtors have connections with lenders, and
Exactly.
so like you may already know somebody like this, because I feel like that's where it gets murky. Like I think there's some pretty shady lenders out there.
Oh, yeah. There's certain companies I'm like, please do not use this company.
Because that, I mean, if when I worked in web development, I did social media, and we worked with I did some social media for some lenders, and they were good lenders. But I learned real quickly that like lenders can really, they can lie to get you approved. Like they can put people in a really bad spot really quickly.
I just had that happen. They got approved with AmeriSave. And they just wasted our time. They didn't look into anything. And they're like, oh, actually, we can't approve this loan. My bad.
Yeah.
And then ghosted me. Like, they didn't even try to offer a solution or say, hey, if you do this, this, and this, we can approve this loan. They just were like, sorry, we can't help you. After we were already under contract, after they had told me he was approved, like it was a mess. And I was like, this is why I like to choose, or at least I shouldn't say choose. I like to recommend lenders I trust that are going to fight to get the deal done.
So hopefully that's a question you want to ask if you can get a real estate agent first, that's one of the beginning questions you want to ask them. Do you have trusted lenders?
Yes. And if they don't, then I have this booklet full of people that you can call that I have vetted myself. I've had good transactions with. But I mean, basically just call me. Just call me for all your real estate needs.
And she's got you covered.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm in this for the long haul. So like I expect all these people buying first time homes that I'm going to be selling homes to their kids. Like that's my goal. I love it.
I love it too. I'm all for it for you. One of these
Thank
days
you.
when I buy a house. So,
You will.
Well,
You
actually,
will.
I think I'm gonna buy the house I'm in now. Just like putting stashing my nuts away at the moment so I can.
I believe in you, David.
I appreciate it. You got any more questions over there, Keenan?
No, I'm good.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm good.
Those are some good
That
questions,
was
man.
good.
You want to come sit next to me? Let's go at it. Well, I think now we wrap it up.
Okay. Yes.
I'm just kind of looking at Keenan. Like, come on. No? Okay. No, those are some great questions. But yeah, I'll get the PDF from you, for that.
Yeah.
Granted, it sounds like a lot of the information may pertain to the Lexington, Kentucky market, but there's still, I'm guessing, some solid information for people that are out of state that may just, can pull from. We'll add if you follow us on YouTube, and I think we can add a link into our description for the audio version of this too. I'll set something up on my Google Drive so you guys can download that PDF so you can have that information. And of course, if you are in the area and you are looking for a house, you now know who you want to work with. I mean, you've had a whole hour to hear how amazing she is. So, I mean, why wouldn't you? No, I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this has been a blast. Yeah.
it's been fun. We could talk forever.
I know. Well, yeah,
We'll do a part 2.
That's right.
Part 2 coming if
We
an encore
already
is
talk
requested.
forever.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I bumped into you because our both of our favorite coffee shops.
Yes,
like we both
all
have,
the time.
And literally, one of us is literally like, "Hey, I've got like shit to do. I know we've been talking for 25 minutes, but like,
It's time to go.
but I gotta go." But yeah, you got any other pieces of advice or anything you want to partake? You want to sit out there?
No, I think people don't let the rising rates scare you. I think it's always going to be a smart financial decision to have real estate. And if you have questions, even if you feel like they're dumb questions, like I'm here for it. I didn't know anything about real estate until I started. So like I'm here for everybody that even if it's not the time now and it's 5 years from now, I'm happy to help.
We'll also throw her email up here. So, I mean, I guess even people that are listening might be out of state. Like, shoot her an email. She's the type of person that will respond.
I can even find agents out of state that I interview. So I've done that 10 times. Like I have friends moving out of state, and I will
You really
call,
do care about the homeowner.
yeah, well, I
and the
mean, not
buyer.
every agent's the same. Not every, that's how every industry is. It depends on how hard they work and their
Right.
ability to problem solve, like you said. So I call agents and I talk with them. And if I don't get a good vibe, they're not getting my lead. And people don't have the time to do that. They're just like, oh, well, I'll just pick a realtor. But that matters. Like, you need a good realtor
Right.
if you want to make a smart financial decision. So I'm here for out of state, anything you need.
If you haven't learned anything, but you need a good realtor from this podcast, it's a must. Well, thanks for coming on,
thanks for having me.
guys. And as always, guys, we'll catch you next time.